Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falak Said Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such industry titan on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Colonel Guljeet Singh Saroya. Hello, welcome, Mr. Saroya.
Thank you very much, Palak. That was very nice of you to arrange this.
Thank you so much, and we are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders. So let me give you a quick brief about Colonel Guljeet Singh Saroya. He is an Army veteran and a highly experienced ICT professional with over 3 decades of experience in ICT project management, operations and maintenance. With a strong background in the Indian Army and Civil Service, he has demonstrated expertise in project planning and management, ICT network infrastructure design and rollout, system integration and resource optimization. He has successfully managed ICT projects, negotiated and presented at various levels of business, and effectively managed materials planning and vendor management for timely and cost-effective procurement. Currently, he is serving as the president and project head for the Network for Spectrum Optical Fibre project at A2Z Infra Engineering Ltd, a role wherein he is responsible for end-to-end project planning and execution in the Leh-Ladakh area and 13 states in the northeastern part of India. So, Colonel Saroya, could you let our viewers know in brief about your career journey so far?
Thank you, Falak. That was very kind of you to introduce me. I would start my introduction with in 2 parts. Basically, since I have served in the Army for a major part of my career, that is almost about 28.5 years I served in the Army. And thereafter, I switched over to the corporate, and I've been in the corporate for the last about 10 years now. Starting with my Army career, I started as a young boy of less than 17 years when I joined NDA, and 3 years of training at NDA and 1 year at IMA. Thereafter, I joined the Corps of Signals of the Indian Army, and that was as per my choice. I joined the Corps in 1983, that was December 83, and soon thereafter got deployed in Operation Blue Star in Amritsar. Thereafter, after a couple of years, 87, I went to Sri Lanka as part of the Indian peacekeeping force. Had a small stint there, and thereafter various other appointments. I'll just highlight a few of my important career appointments. I served in Dimapur. That was in the times when insurgency was at its peak there. That is Nagaland. That the year was 1990 to 1993, and thereafter I had the highlight of my career, one of the best postings of my career. I got selected and got posted as an instructor in the Military College of Telecommunication Engineering. I served there for 3 years, and I had the proud privilege of teaching young officers who got commissioned into the Indian Army. Today, all those officers are very senior, all those people are very senior officers in the Corps of Signals, starting from colonels, brigadiers, and a couple of major generals also who've been my students. And that's a matter of pride for me. After this, I got another feather in my cap, I would say. I got selected for the Defense Services Staff College, which is a premier training institution for the Army, Indian Army, and a dream for every Army officer to qualify and get into that. And so I did a training at the Defense Services Staff College at Wellington for a year, which trains the Army officers to take on higher responsibilities and operational planning, etc. And I was fortunate to get that opportunity. Right. Thereafter, another couple of postings where I dealt with highly mobile operational communications for strike forces, and then went on to command a signal regiment in the line of control, that is at Rajouri, one of the biggest divisional signal regiments of the Indian Army. I commanded that regiment in 2002 to 2005. I was the CO there, and that was another, I would say, golden period of my Army service. We brought in a lot of changes there. I changed the communication landscape in that area during my command. We translated from the physical line communications to UHF systems and the other microwave systems. And thereafter, I laid the foundation for an optical communication there. One of the biggest achievement that I did during my tenure as a commanding officer there was the planning and installation for the first mobile network system of the Indian Army, a dedicated network mobile system for the Indian Army. It was later replicated elsewhere in the Northern Command in J&K. So that is one of its kind which started, and I did the basic groundwork and initiated the implementation. However, by the time it started getting executed and commissioned, I had moved out from there. Right. Thereafter, I went on as a colonel administration in one divisional signal regiments, a posting which normally signal officers do not get. That's a very rare privilege, and that was thanks to my staff college qualifications and other qualifications. And here I dealt with, other than signal communication, I dealt with the logistics, operational planning, etc. for the Indian Army, especially for the mobile forces. Right. Thereafter, I decided to leave the Army. I decided to call it a day because that was when I had finished my command and I had done the major challenging parts of the tenures that one can expect in the Indian Army, and some slight other problems, other issues which I wanted to deal with at my personal level. So I decided to leave. My application was once rejected, then again I applied after 6 months. Finally, it was accepted, and I left the Army in 2012. And thereafter, I came into this corporate civil world. I did not know where to start my civil career. I tried a little bit here and there. I joined one company called Paramount Communications for a very short time. Then I switched over. I thought of opening my own venture into what the Army people normally do as a security company, and therefore to learn about the nitty-gritties of the security issues, I joined a security company for a year and a half, but it didn't, I found it not to my risk appetite, I would say. I didn't want to risk more finances into that. So thereafter, I decided to join my own professional line, that is communications. Although I was looking for a job right from the day I had left the Army, but nothing good was coming up. Finally, I found this, and I, through various contacts, my ex-colleagues, etc., and I joined the A2Z Infra Engineering as the project head for the Network for Spectrum OFC project. This project again was, although it was a DOT project, Department of Telecommunication had mm, has chosen BSNL as the executing agency for the project. And thereafter, we took the project from BSNL. The project ultimately was to install a network, optical fiber network for the Indian Army in the remote areas. So it again helped me in the sense that I had the knowledge of the Indian Army, and I could gain access to various army areas easily because of my knowledge and because of my association with them. And more importantly, because of the large number of students that whom I had taught. So that was an advantage for me in gaining access and gaining their confidence. So we laid about 15,000 kilometers of cable as part of this project, which includes, as you brought out in your introduction, the Leh, Kargil, Ladakh areas, and then the northeastern states, starting from Bihar, Jharkhand, etc., right up to the borders of Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland, and so on. So that is how I've my career in the army. And in the corporate world, I would say like I told you, I started with one company called the Paramount Communications. Had a small stint there. It was a very educative stint, but the project that we were working on didn't come through, and therefore I left that. And then I joined a security company, which again, I learned a lot about the statutory requirements for us business that are, if you take up a business, what are the statutory requirements, the PF, ESI, and all those kind of things, and making of salary sheets, bills, etc., everything. And I did a, hands-on job on all these minor issues, sat with the lowest run people and learned from them. It did a lot of good to me in the long run. And as a project head also, it gave me a lot of clarity, which during my army tenure, we were not exposed to these kind of things. So that is how things went. And today, after almost about 10 years in A2Z, we've almost completed this project. And now we are maybe looking for something else to start. But in the meanwhile, I thought I must also transition to something different and maybe contribute a little more to the corporate world if situation permits. So that was a brief about myself.
That's really very interesting and wonderful to know. So I want to know, like, was your transition from the army to the corporate sector smooth?
Yes, the transition, I do not know whether to call it smooth or what, but it was there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty.
Yes.
And I was moving myself from a position of comfort and getting out of my comfort zone at a stage in life when a lot of responsibilities are there on you. My children were still either in school, or the elder one was just she just entered the college, and everybody in the family was trying to tell me to hold on for some more time. But I don't know, but I was quite confident that I must go out. This is the time when I must leave and explore other possibilities. Because as I told you, I joined the NDA when I was not even 17 years of age, and I had not seen anything other than army. So it was quite a change for me. So therefore, in preparation to my leaving the army, I established contact with a lot of people who had earlier left, a lot of my school time classmates and people like that. So as to get a some idea about what I have in what I can get across in future. So I got a lot of help from a lot of people, a lot of good advices, the first thing I was told is you must first decide what line you want to do, join, or where you want to pitch yourself. And I didn't know, to be very frank, that what line I could offer. So after a little bit of more discussions, etc., I thought I must join project management. And because that is something which I had been handling quite a lot in the army also. So therefore, in preparation, I did a PMP course, and that again helped me a lot in my subsequent ventures, or whatever efforts I put in everywhere. It helped me a lot. So thereafter, once I came out, there was a time when I was thinking I'll open my own initiative, some venture into security, but then I gave it a long thought and I said I don't want to change my line of specialization. So, and I was fortunate that I got an opportunity in A2Z, and therefore I switched back to my line, and I'm happy that I got back here.
That's really great.
So I do not know whether to call it a smooth transition, but it was a lot of anxiety. But all the time, I was quite confident of myself. I never regretted having left the army, although I cherished those days very fondly. But I never regretted for a moment that I left the army at that point of time.
And that's very much important, to be firm on your decision, and then to be confident on oneself is very much definitely important. So since you are into project planning and management, what do you regard as your biggest accomplishment so far?
See, the biggest achievement I would call, as far as my project management and this thing is concerned, is firstly that completing this project or doing this project itself was such a big achievement, because we've done this project in areas where there was no communication till the time we reached there. There were areas where there was absolutely, other than a road, there was a road, and that too not a pakka road, just a beaten track sort of a thing, where one could cover a distance of 20 kilometers in 1 hour, and not more than that. So we reached those areas with our optical fiber and gave the army formations which are deployed there the immense potential of using this optical fiber. Before that, neither BSNL nor any other operator had reached those areas. Even for civil administration, there were few satellite terminals in some areas which used to work off and on, which or never worked at times. And then when we inducted our teams there were areas where my teams remained out of communication for days together. We had to formulate a method by which we had to tell them every 3 days they drive down back to the areas where there is communication, give us a report, and then go back. Or 3 days or 4 days or whatever, depending on the areas. So that is the kind of areas that we worked, and we provided this communication, which will be or is already a game changer for the army. And thereafter, I would say the number of private operators have also, Reliance and Airtel, they have also started going into those areas. Though they have not yet reached in many areas, but some areas they have started going, like Leh, Reliance, and I think VTL or Airtel, they've laid cables after us. Before we reached Leh, there was only one optical fiber cable which used to work only during good weather, fair weather communication it used to be. And other than that, entire Leh was on only satellites. And that satellite would give preference to banking operations and other such administrative operations. So the normal population had very little access to communication. And if you moved out of 20 kilometers out of Leh, there was absolutely no communication. And today you go there, the communication is around the clock. So that was one very big achievement I would call for ourselves, because we reached there, and thereafter a lot of other operators are now entering those areas. The second place where I would say, as a project management head, I could achieve, I would call it a achievement on my part, was in such difficult areas, I was able to maintain a very cohesive and a motivated team, working around the clock and working absolutely in sync with our overall targets. So that was a very big achievement, I would say. Imagine a young boy coming out of college and you put him in a place where there's no communication. Here he is used to all the time seeing Netflix and all that, those kind of things, and there you put him, he can't even call back his family. So that, and keeping him motivated there is quite a task. So I used to visit them. In fact, I should be always on the move, go and be with them, sit with them, stay with them, and stay in those makeshift arrangements that they had for days together. And that's how we built confidence, and that's how the network was built. So that was the second thing. And the third thing, which is probably the most important from the project point of view, is that we did a very good risk analysis of the project very early in the implementation stage. And based on that, we formulated our method of how to mitigate the risks. And the major challenge in the Northeast, not Leh-Ladakh, but in the Northeast that we faced was after the present government took over in 2014, they launched a lot of road widening projects and a lot of infrastructure development projects. And that is the area which was probably not visualized when the project was assigned to us. So, and we could make out that we are going to have a lot of damages because of this road widening and delays because of the road widening, because there was no clarity from our client as to what to do in case of road widening. So we formulated our procedures. Every time there was a delay, or every time there was a stoppage of work, delay of work, absolutely, I mean, from the ground level, the reports would go. They used to be signed by the clients, visited by the clients, and documented properly. And later on, when we completed the links, as the government organizations normally do, they put LD charges, that is, in case of delays, we were able to recover almost all our LD charges just because of our proper documentation, because of our processes that we had implemented and the systems that we had put in place. And we could establish that the delays were not attributable to us. The delays were, I mean, everybody was on board and it was absolutely beyond our control. So that is one, again, a very big achievement, both in terms of finances and the cash flow in the project, because a major amount of cash flow was involved. So that is, again, a big achievement, I would say.
That's really great. So I want to know, like, how and when did you develop an inclination towards corporate governance?
Right. I would say once I've joined this project, the first 5 years or so, I was absolutely involved in the project, in the sense that I was trying to establish myself, being a person or being an outsider, one would say, because I was new to the corporate world. I was trying to establish myself both with my hierarchy below me and the hierarchy above me. So everybody was, I had to establish my credentials, my capabilities. And so I would say the first 4 or 5 years, I was absolutely working maybe 14 to 16 hours a day just to keep things under control and make sure I plan well in advance. Whatever I have to do next day, I was planned the previous day, etc., etc. And thereafter, once the project was reasonably through, like 70-80%, I started getting in touch with a lot of senior people in the industry. And a lot of senior people I hold in very great esteem today, because I learned a lot from them. And that is when I saw them functioning and saw the way they handle things, the first thing I learned was that just being a technical expert is not good enough. You have to be a techno-commercial person to understand the corporate world. And that is when I would say I got into this, the details of the corporate governance, the interactions I had with the senior people, the MDs and CEOs of various companies, various renowned companies in this field. And I thought maybe I can also contribute a bit in whatever way I experience that I have gathered over the years. So that was where I think I started getting involved more and more into the governance part, the senior management and senior governance part.
So as a corporate governance expert, what values do you offer to the corporate world?
Right. The most important is that whatever I would offer, whatever I can offer is I have to first see inwards what are my strengths. My strengths, as I put it, is having put in almost about 4 decades of my career into this line. I would say my strengths are that I understand technology. That is the first thing. So I am reasonably okay with technology, and I have a lot to offer as far as technology is concerned. The second thing, which goes because of my 2/3 of my career in the army, is discipline and ethics. And that is what I would bring to the corporate world. The use of all these strengths in identifying the risk management or the risk assessment, the I would say the risk appetite of the corporate for which I'm working, and also the bringing in a little bit of transparency, making sure that I put in my bit towards making things transparent, towards looking after the interest of all stakeholders. And when there's a conflict, of course, one has to use his own discretion. And I think that is what I would bring to this corporate world.
Yes, indeed, a great thought. So when we talk about technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, and Web 3.0?
Yeah, these are all topics by themselves. But if you ask me what changes I've seen in my career, I told you I joined Signals, the communication field in December 1983. That was a time when even TVs were very uncommon in India. The TV was just coming in. So you can imagine we've seen the world from the communication world from that side to what it is today. We have your video streaming on your palm top today, on your mobiles. So that is the communication changes that one has seen. The day I joined the army, we used to have magnetophones where you had to crank a handle to pass a ring to the other end. And if you laid one pair of cable, only one call could be put through it. There were some multiplexing equipment, but very, very, very rudimentary equipment. Today, you put one fiber from one place to another, and there's, multiple gigabytes of information that you can transfer. So the videos you can transfer. Those were days when even getting a audio call was a privilege. If you wanted to make a STD call, it used to be a 3-minute call, and that too after waiting for hours. Today you have everything on your mobile. So those are the type of changes that one has seen. However, with the advent of these technologies that you mentioned, the first and the most important is uh, the web, the internet, which came in. I remember in Ambala, somebody told me, I'm talking of somewhere around 1992. Somebody told me that we must get hold of a internet connectivity, and it was quite a task for me to get internet connectivity, one computer connected or internet, and with the web at that kind of time, at that point of time, was a very limited options it had. At best, you could send a email with hardly any attachments. So thereafter, we've seen the web develop. We call it Web 1 and Web 2. Web 2 came in with all these Facebook, etc. And now we are moving towards Web 3, where the web is going to exploit all these technologies of IoT, the machine learning, the AI, etc. And the your systems, the computers, etc. All these things are going to be. They are going to think almost like the way we think. And that is how they are going to develop in the near future. So what I see coming in the near future is a lot of decentralization of databases, a lot of decentralization of the resources of over the nets, machines talking to each other, passing information, and I'm very happy to say that at the backbone of all this is communications, and that is what is my field of expertise. And all these people, all these machines and gadgets and sensors, they will develop so much of, they generate so much of data that you need very, very robust backbone communications. And that is where the future lies. In case of, I would say, from the corporate point of view, the availability of information to each and everyone, it'll be so decentralized that anybody can access any information. He will have accessibility to processed information, not just data, processed information, and verifiable, secure information. That is where the blockchain comes in. The systems which ensure that the data is not manipulated. That is where, I mean, machine learning, blockchain, all these come in. Right? As far as analysis is concerned, the machines are trying to replace the human manual analysis systems. We are very fast developing systems which can do analysis much faster than what a human being could do, and that is how it will change the entire landscape of the corporate world. That is how the corporate, I feel, will be developing in the next few years. And this is the time when the corporates must focus and get in, put the technology on their priority list. Right? Otherwise, they'll be left behind. So people who are left behind would have no option but to, I mean, either take some drastic changes, actions, or shut. Right. So that is how I see it.
So as you know, we are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Hemal Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
Yeah, in the present world, I would say, like I've just told you, technology is what is going to drive the corporate world. That is one factor which would drive the corporate world into the future. And the second thing is the regulations which are being put in place for the corporate world. So these are two major things which I feel will be driving the corporate world in the near future. And then we have, as a country, we have a dream of making India a 5 trillion economy by 2025, which is absolutely reachable. And all this would require following international standards, international good practices, and bringing our corporate landscape to that level. In that field, I think the World Development Corporation is absolutely aligned towards that. The mission, as I read on their website, their aim is economic development, social benefit, and environmental sustenance through high-end technology, and absolutely in line with the present scenario. And with specifically Mr. Zishan and Mr. Hevel are doing a yeoman's job, I would say a pioneering job in this field, and preparing the corporate world for the future. And they are the third, I would say, after technology and regulations, the third factor which would shape the corporate world in the near future. So that is how I look at it. And I'm absolutely sure that their initiative is pioneering in this work, in this field, and it would be, I mean, a path-breaking, or I would say a trailblazing activity that they are doing. And hats off to them. We wish them good luck. And people like me found this, are again fortunate that we got in touch with your organization, and we learned so much about the corporate world. So it makes us more confident, makes me specifically more confident of handling better responsibilities or bigger responsibilities.
Thank you so much for these really kind words. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you, Colonel Guljeet Saroya, for joining us today. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. All your career journey that you have shared with us so far, your principles and values that you have followed, I'm sure that everyone watching this, it is going to help them grow in their careers too. Thank you so much once again for joining us today on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.